have to pick up your skirt and show him your panties. And I said, no.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't do it. So they had to send to the wardrobe department and bring over like 6 pairs of panties, but one pair hidden, of course, on top of the other, until finally I felt modest enough I could pick up my skirt. And in the scene, in the picture where I pick up my skirt, I have 5 other pairs of panties on. If I look fat, you know why.
Yeah, so at this point, 1933, you really become a working actress. You do a Western with Kent Taylor, Mysterious Rider. You're in Picture Snatcher with James Cagney. You're in Jenny Gerhardt with Sylvia Sidney. You're in Mary Stevens, M.D. with Kay Francis. You're in Torch Singer with Claudette Colbert. Yeah, and they're really working you hard. You're in Prize Fighter and the Lady with Myrna Loy. So at this point, you're about 5. So when you look at this photo, I always think, what makes you think Greta Garbo?
Not me.
Well, so someone over at MGM thought Greta Garbo. So you were brought in to play the young Queen Christina with Garbo. So,
May I say something?
oh yeah.
I must have the most common face in the world, because I played either the most famous actresses of the 30s as a child or their child, so they made me up to look like everybody.
So tell us about your interview at MGM.
Oh, that was interesting. We were on a huge sound stage. I'm sure you all know that those are enormous. And from floor to ceiling, wall to wall, there was a black velvet curtain. And in front of it, again, this line of little girls. And we stood there, and one by one, the little girls were excused. And then I'm standing there all by myself. And between the curtains, a lovely blonde lady with kind of an odd accent came out. We chatted for a few minutes. I had no idea who Greta Garbo was. We chatted for a few minutes, and she left, and then I was told that I was to play her as the baby queen. And something unusual happened. Why, I still don't know, but she liked me as a child, and she used to invite me to her dressing room for tea in the afternoon. She drank tea, I drank milk. But my mother was dying to meet her, and my mother would say, just tell Miss Garbo that you want her to meet your mother. And I said, Mom, you just don't understand. You don't tell Miss Garbo anything. It's her idea, and you nod a lot. So when I would be invited to tea, my mother would take me to Miss Garbo's dressing room. And she had this wonderful African-American lady who I remember as being enormous. I think it was only because I was so short. But she was a large lady, and she would open the door, and she would put her left hand on the door jamb and her right hand on the door. And then she would hold on to the door. She would release the jamb. She would reach forward. She would take my hand. She would pull me toward her, and she'd say, thank you very much, Miss Collins, for bringing Cora Sue. We'll take her back to her dressing room. Period. My mother never got to meet her.
Wow.
But I think I was lucky that I did that, because Freddie Bartholomew was invited to her, had been invited to her dressing room a couple of times. He was considerably older. And one day he made the mistake of asking her for an autographed photograph for his mother. She gave it to him. Never saw him again in her entire life. And I don't think there's anything wrong in that. She was a very private person, and that was her prerogative.
Absolutely.
And she was a wonderful lady. And she had a great sense of humor. She was lots of fun.
So the premiere.
Oh, the premiere was lots of fun. That was great, because as Miss Garbo, fortunately for me, would not make public appearances, and she was such an important actress that she could be that positive with L.B. Mayer. I don't know anyone else who could stand up to him. Anyway, they made a miniature coach with coachman and footman to match, which was an exact replica of the coach that Christina was used when Christina was coronated, because the Queen Christina was actually coronated when she was 5 because her father was killed in a war. So I got to attend the premiere instead of Greta Garbo, which I'm sure Mayer would prefer it. But Mr. Mayer accompanied me, which was very unusual. I have never seen another photograph of him at a premiere. I'm sure there must be, but it was not a common event. Anyway, I was very, very pleased.
That's right. Well, on the heels of this picture, MGM really took an interest in you and signed you to a contract. So in 1934, you went on to make 10 films quickly with Fay Wray in Black Moon, Colleen Moore in The Scarlet Letter. You played a young Loretta Young in Caravan. You were also an Evelyn Prentice playing Myrtle and William Powell's daughter, which was their follow-up to The Thin Man. And a picture called The World Accuses with Dickie Moore. You were the leads in that. And then of particular interest, let's talk about 2 films from that year. First one is Treasure Island.
In the original Treasure Island, Mr. Stevenson did not have a little girl. No part for a little girl. But if you were under contract to MGM, to Mr. Mayer, you were like a piece of chattel, like this table, the glass, the chair. I mean, he owned you. He ruled your life with an iron hand. A despot, not a benevolent despot, mind you. But firstly, we filmed 6 days a week, Monday through Saturdays in those days. And many, many times on Sundays, I had to go to Mr. Mayer's house to have brunch with his granddaughters and take them horseback riding. So our lives were really controlled by Mr. Mayer. So if you worked for him, you were under contract to him, you worked. So can you imagine that he had me written in to a classic? To, just Treasure Island. Well, anyway, I didn't understand all of that when I was that age, but later I was really impressed by it.
Well, the second film we should talk about is a short that you made called Spectacle Maker, which is important for a lot of different reasons.
Firstly, I loved making it, but it was the very first Technicolor short made in America. And John Farrow, it was his directorial debut in America. He was a very, very famous director in London. I think he's probably much more famous now for being Mia Farrow's father. But anyway, he was a wonderful director. And it was Technicolor. And it was a fable about a little girl and she was the princess, the king and the queen, and a spectacle maker. Anyway, I won't spoil it for you and I won't drivel on. But it was a wonderful picture, but they couldn't control, it was brand new, Technicolor. They couldn't control the color red. The actresses in Hollywood were using very similar lipsticks to the color I'm wearing today, which is a soft, flattering color of lipstick. But they couldn't control red. So it came on the screen as being a deep, dark, mulberry, bluish red. And the cosmetic companies all over the world had to retool because the clients, their customers were saying, no, we want to wear the same color that the movie stars wear, that beautiful dark blue red. Well, it shows you how films controlled a lot of history. I mean, there was a, shall we say, strong influence?
Absolutely. Well, this was the first Technicolor, full Technicolor film, short film made by a studio in Hollywood. And it was sort of a test run for MGM.
It was, because then they were heavily into...
So to bring you in to be the lead in their first Technicolor film.
I was honored. But may I tell them about the harp?
Absolutely.
There's a scene where the little princess is playing a harp. And I have these really peculiar hands. God confused me with a chicken when he gave me bones. Do you know anyone who wears a 3/4 on their little finger? I do. I mean, I just have no bones at all. In other words, it's all flab that you see. But while I was, pretending to play the harp, they tried to find someone to double my hands. They couldn't find anybody because I have these really peculiar hands. So they had to teach me how to play this one little song that's in the melody that's in the film, used in the film. And I was amazed because I don't have them anymore. I don't know what happened to them. But my mother kept for a long time fan letters from harpists who said, where are you going to play? Your finger work is so lovely. And I'm thinking, if they only knew. Shall I tell them? All right, I have another funny story about that particular film. They couldn't control red. And I have a lot of cleavage. But at 7 or 5, whatever age I was, I had a little bit of cleavage. And it was terrible because it looked as though I really had bosoms and all I had was just a little bit. So they had to use cover mark, to make me look flat. Anyway, when I got married, my husband was really funny. He bought a film from me from, what's the name of that store on Hollywood Boulevard?
Larry Edmonds, I think.
Larry Edmonds. A picture of me in this dress that my favorite, it's not that dress, but my favorite dress that I wore in the film, which was a periwinkle blue. And he brought it home because it was a full shot of me, and he said, "They were born and you grew onto them."